business. I got my wild cherry Diet Pepsi, and I got my blackjack gum here, and I got that feeling. Yeah, that familiar feeling that something rank is going down out there.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you, I make you laugh, I'm here to fucking amuse you. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me what's funny.
Oh, me, sir, God damn it! Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Oh, you!
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
I'm so racist! Anybody move, I'll blow your fucking head off.
And the medic gets out and says, "Oh my God."
I'm your huckleberry.
My advice to you is to start drinking heavily.
Put that coffee down.
Pauline, this calls for the old Billy Baroo.
That's a huge bitch!
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Hey, where are the white women at?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. It's over, Johnny. It's over!
All right. It is a Friday night. Well, for some of you, it's going to be a Saturday, technically. But kind of fitting that we decided to go on this late because tonight, going to talk a little bit of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Those of you who have been hanging out with me for a little while know I've been playing the soundtrack for a little while now. So, been doing that a little bit. Anthony should be joining me any minute now. But I figured I would go ahead and get started. This is usually a little midnight kind of thing anyway. So, not too bad of a thing that we jumped on a little bit late here. Now, yes, I'm sure when everyone's thinking Rocky Horror, everyone's kind of excited about it. There was just a new remake of it that just recently came out on Fox last week. Actually, it was last Thursday night. I did watch it. I'll get into that later. Figure me and Anthony would blow through the original movie first, and then go ahead and get into that other one. I've got a few things to say about it. I did check it out. It was I really am trying to keep an open mind about it. So, I mean, it is 2016, and yeah, I'll just go with that for right now. When we'll jump back into that in a little while. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Director was a gentleman named Jim Sharman. Play was written by him also, one of the screenplays. The original music play was written by Richard O'Brien. Richard O'Brien was Riff Raff in the original movie. So I'm sure everyone has probably seen that movie by now. I mean, Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, Barry Boswick, Patricia Quinn, Nell Campbell, Jonathan Adams was in that movie. Meatloaf, Charles Gray was in it. Just, wasn't a huge cast that did a lot. Obviously, Susan Sarandon did a lot. Barry Boswick did a lot. Tim Curry did pretty well for himself. He's been in a bunch of different things here and there. He shows up all the time, in this and in that. But this movie, for 1975, this movie had a $1.4 million budget. And right now, all they can say is that it's cleared about $140.2 million. That is incredible. This movie still is making money to this day. People still show this. Like I said, we have a couple places here that show it at 11:59 p.m. On Fridays. So, I mean, there are still places that are, you can still go see this. And, it's very crowd interactive. People dress up like the characters and go. When I went to see this, I saw it at a place in Florida called the Carefree Theater. So it was it was a really cool thing. I got Anthony here with me. What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, guys?
Oh, man. Fun stuff. Turn you
Rocky
down.
Horror, midnight. Kind of appropriate that we're starting on a late night tip.
That's what I said. It's kind of a midnight movie anyway. So, why not? Perfect time to start. That's why I texted you to let you know I was going to start at midnight. With or without you, bro.
Nah, I couldn't miss this one. I mean, so what do you think? Since we're talking Rocky Horror Picture, should we get a little fucked up and weird, or in the words of Doug, good friend to the show, should we keep it professional tonight?
Well, I've already started drinking, so I mean, I got a 6-pack of Heineken sitting beside me here, but this I kind of got into it very shortly. I've only been on for about probably 10 minutes. Just talking about basically, movie started off with a $1.4 million budget. They're estimating $140.2 million made, and that's without calculating. I mean, this movie is still making money to this day. I mean, just last week on Fox, this movie was remade, which we'll get into after we go through the original. Did you see the one last week?
I honestly, no, I missed that one, Box. How was it?
That's fine. Smark saw it. He's going to call in when we start talking about that, because I got a few things to say, and I'm sure he does too, because he's a fan of the original one. So,
yeah, I don't know, not to get off topic too much, but I'm really, as a rule of thumb, I'm not really a fan of remakes, because very rarely do they live up to the original, regardless of the budget, regardless of who's acting. Mm-hmm. There's just a certain fineness I had for like the original of any movie of any genre. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't, like I said, I haven't seen it, but based on your tone, I can kind of like, yeah, you probably didn't enjoy it too much.
I said right in the beginning, I'm trying to keep an open mind about it, but we'll get into it after we go through the original here. I was just talking about the cast in the original. I guess most people, notable people in this cast would be Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, Barry Boswick, and Meatloaf. Probably the most.
Honestly, like, these are like, they're not obscure people, but they don't get talked about nearly as much as they should. I love all of them.
And it's funny. I just watched Barry Boswick in Spin City.
Yeah, that dude is hilarious.
It's so weird to see him in this movie and just be like, I just watched this guy in a fucking sitcom. It's just weird. But I did note that Riff Raff, the guy who played Riff Raff in the movie, was one of the writers of the film.
Yeah, and it's insane, just bringing up a guy like Tim Curry or Barry Boswick, how long they actually been around.
Yeah, I mean, this movie was put out the year I was born, 1975.
The golden age.
Yeah, yeah. So this movie is 41 years old. So am I. And by the way, I do want to say I don't think anyone in the original movie has ever been an NYPD Blue.
Oh, so no 6 degrees of Dennis Farina tonight, Box?
I probably could. I know Tim Curry's been in a few things with a few people that have been in NYPD Blue, so I could bring it back to it, but I why bother tonight? You know, it's look. This movie wasn't meant to be the hit movie that it was. It was meant to be just kind of a fun thing. It was a parody movie. The movie is supposed to be a parody of science fiction and B-rated horror movies, basically in the 30s through the 70s. And they just kind of make fun of it. And turns out this movie turned into a cult. I don't even know if cult classic is the way to put it. I mean, when you,
it's honestly, it's past that.
I mean, I guess you could say when you think of cult movies, this movie defines what a cult movie should embody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you look at the literal definition, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I really think this is what a cult movie is. This movie's 41 years old. It is a complete crowd engaging movie, especially when you go see it live. So, it's a lot of fun. People yell things, and like I said, they dress up as the characters. It's a lot of fun. I used to go to a place called Carefree Theater in Florida. They used to do the same thing at midnight. They would do it. Whoa. And, if you've never been, you're going to have to get on stage and do something. I had to lick milk off of a giant set of fake boobs. It was fun. I had fun that night. But, they go up there, they do it live, usually with the movie playing in the background. So they're kind of just going with the movie. But it's really, really cool to go see live. So if you've never seen it live, look it up. I guarantee it's somewhere in your area. Have you ever gone to a live showing, Anthony?
No, I haven't. But if it's titty looking involved, I might have to look that up.
It was an interesting night, but it's definitely very fun to go to. Actually, we'll get in all the scenes and everything, but my ex-girlfriend Kim used to know like all the dance moves for this whole movie.
That led to some fun nights, I bet.
She could do every day, even the dance where Columbia dances during the time warp. She knew every move for that dance and everything. She was a cool chick, but there's a reason it's ex-girlfriend. Anyway, I guess we can sort of get into this movie basically centers around an annoying young couple in Brad and Janet. Brad obviously played by Barry Boswick, Janet by Susan Sarandon. It starts off, they're at a wedding. Now, if you look around this little wedding they're at, a lot of the people from the castle are in this scene. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but Riff Raff is in it. Magenta is in it. So it's one of those things. But it all starts there, and they decide to kind of take a trip where it all started, where they found love. And they decide to go take a trip back to the Dr. Scott's lab. And, basically they break down and go find a telephone and end up at a castle.
Yes.
A crazy castle. Like Smark says in the chat, basically Brad and Janet are an asshole and a slut. Yeah.
They are swept up into the magical world of one Dr. Frank Infooter, world renowned.
Frankenfurter. Frankenfurter. But
Oh, that was great.
it's man, how do you even talk about this film? It's so it's
And Box, before we go any further, I actually want to point out, because I actually had some notes here, trying to be prepared and professional. Dr. Frankenfooter, did you know he was a self-proclaimed, and I quote, sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania?
That's what the song says, my friend.
That is fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And think about it. This is pre-PC, so yeah.
Oh, this is really I mean, this is 1975. They could get away with a lot of shit.
You could say whatever the
Thank
fuck you
God.
wanted. Miss those days.
Listen, I was I was a little shocked they let a lot of things go on Fox, but Fox also gets a little bit edgy too. So, you know, they did all right. I guess before we get deep into the movie, we talked about how this movie became the cult classic and how the audience started engaging in this film. It happened actually in 1976, of course, in New York City, mainly at the Waverly Theater in New York City. Audience members started returning, dressing as the characters, and yelling stuff at the film, which became, very popular to do, And obviously there's little things that you need to know and do during the film. It's still in a limited release. We talked about that. This film is the longest running theatrical release in film history to this day.
Fucking insane.
Yep. Often shown close to Halloween. The film has a huge international following and was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry in 2005. This film will probably never go anywhere.
Yes. And I must say, it has, to this day, in my opinion, one of the coolest covers for a DVD, VHS, any type of format that I've ever seen ever, with the lips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. I mean, honestly, whoever designed that cover is fucking fantastic.
Yeah. And obviously, the music in this movie really did make the movie. I guess now we can kind of start getting into the movie where, Brad and Janet, we just talked about how they end up at a castle where, obviously they're singing the, song going in, and they are greeted by Riff Raff, who, in my opinion, is one of the greatest characters in this movie. Riff Raff is awesome. Of course, he's one of the writers, so he had an idea in his head for what he wanted, and really brought that character to life. I thought it was one of the greatest greatest characters in a movie.
Yes.
Yep. yeah, it definitely was.
I just like saying his name, Riff Raff.
Riff Raff. I always thought it was funny when Jim Norton made fun of Jesse Ventura, and he said, "You and your Riff Raff haircut."
Yeah. On the side, I think I don't know what Jesse's doing, but he needs to just go bald again. Just cut that shit off.
Yeah.
It just it's time to let it go. Every man gets to a point where you need to just look in the mirror and go, it's time for me to let this shit go.
Yeah, exactly.
The thrill is gone.
Yeah, it's gone, Jesse. It's gone. Just deal with it, my friend. Deal with it.
The party's out back, but nobody's coming, bro.
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm going to play a few songs while we're talking because, like I was just saying, the music in this movie pretty much makes the movie. They sing a song going in, but obviously, once they meet Riff Raff and his sister, who you find out later in the movie, Magenta, they find out they have come on a special night. The master is having a little party. So they end up doing the time warp. So, this was probably the song the movie is really well known for. So, here it is. That's right. It's just a jump to the left. Wait.
Just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
All right, I don't want to be, not just get one on YouTube, but yeah, definitely the music in this movie.
Yes.
Really made this movie. I love this soundtrack. I've actually been playing it for the last hour on the show. So
I heard.
yeah, I've been playing it for a while now.
Now, Box, let me ask you something. Because as a rule of thumb, I hate musicals. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world to have people sing lines. But for some reason, why do you think, like, as a cult classic, Rocky Horror Picture kind of like succeeded where so many other kind of musicals kind of fail for the most part? Because you don't really hear about musicals for the most part being big time hits.
Well, some of them are. I mean, Grease, I will always consider a hit. I will always consider Grease one of the all-time musical hits out there. And, I mean, there's a few more movies, that people do bring up. I think this movie made it because of the weirdness, the fact that the fact that you have people literally dancing in the aisles for this movie to this day. And they do. When you go see this movie, they really are dancing in the aisles to this movie.
Yes. And the funny thing is, most of them are actually sober while doing this.
Yeah. Well, some. Yeah. But it's just. I really think audience participation is probably one of the keys in this movie being as famous as it is. And like Smark says, Wizard of Oz, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, all a.k.a. Willy Wonka. They are both known as musicals too.
Yeah, Smart. Thanks for not bringing up that other bullshit. That was a High School Musical.
High School Musical. There, that was one. But Grease is probably the most comparable one because most people don't think of Grease as a musical, but hey, guess what? It is. So, but I really, and I always told my friends someone should take the movie Grease and do what someone did with Rocky Horror. Well, guess what? Someone did it. Yeah, someone did basically the same thing. But, back to what I was saying, I think crowd participation really made this, one of the, I don't even think this is considered a musical. I really think it's in a different category.
It's weird. Like, they call it it's classified as a musical / horror. I honestly don't picture. I don't really the musical part I get because it's a lot of obviously there's a lot of dance numbers, crowd participation moments in it. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a scary type person, but I don't really consider it like very scary or horror like.
No, this movie definitely was not scary. It was weird. It was odd. Definitely not scary. Look, it was a fun movie. Listen, if you watch this movie and don't just go, what the fuck did I just watch? You didn't watch it. I remember my dad didn't really know what this movie was and got it when I was a kid. I was probably only 10 years old when I saw this movie. But it always stuck with me as being one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. But it always stuck with me as a good movie. And then when I got older, people started talking about it. And, my sister's friends who were 2 years older than me were always going. They went to see it in North Carolina. So just became something for me to go see it in Florida, and all my friends were into the movie, and every Halloween, me and my buddy Mike and my buddy Joe and Chris would all get around and watch this movie. That's what we would do on Halloween night. We'd
Yeah, and it's funny you said it because I'm actually going through some quotes here from some pretty famous publications and critics.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Sun-Times critic Roger Ebert noted that when first released, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was ignored by pretty much everyone, including the future fanatics who would eventually count the hundreds of times they've seen it. He considered it more a long-running social phenomenon than a movie, rating it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Let me see here.
Oh, it did not do well. Not do well at all.
Yeah, that's weird though. It's like, and you figure back then, obviously 1975, you didn't have social media. Nowadays, if something blows up, it kind of blows up instantaneously. Like think about James Ellsworth, to put in a wrestling reference there.
Yeah.
But back then, it's like it really had to be like a word of mouth. One person saw it. Oh, you need to check out this Rocky Horror. It's weird as shit, but you got to check it out. And that's pretty much how it kind of grew into what it became.
Oh, kind of. I mean, this film did come out in the United States. It started off in London. This movie was actually shot in London at the, what is it called? The Oakley House? Oakley Manor? Hold on one second here. I'll tell you in just a second. The Oakley Court. It's still around to this day. You can actually stay there at the Oakley Court in this house. So it's not like it's this house was built in 1857 and it is still there, and you can still to this day go see and stay in this house. So, but it did come out in the United States a couple months after it came out in the UK. But you know, it definitely gained a lot of it snowballed into the cult classic it is over the years. I would say 85, 90, it really, 10, 15 years later is when it really took over. You know, so actually they're saying about 83. Once it got re-released, and people started seeing what the audiences were doing.
Yeah.
It got re-released as the Rocky Horror Picture Show audience participation album. So, you know, it came out, but yeah, the critics did not like this movie.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know, man. I tend, like I said, for the most part, it's certain critics that, you know, I kind of like respect their opinion. But at the same time, I think a lot of critics kind of like overanalyze. Some movies are just meant to have a good time, and this all this movie really was. It had some freaky shit in it. It wasn't meant to fucking change the world or anything. It was just meant to have a good time. Like whoever made the movie, they went into it just like, fuck it, let's just have fun with this shit. They probably were high at the time they wrote the script.
Well, it was riffraff. I mean, it's
obviously it's a classic, but you could tell, like, in terms of dialogue, the layout of it, they didn't really put a lot of thought into the script, and like, let's have some artsy fartsy lines in this movie.
yeah, exactly. The film is narrated by Charles Gray, who is a criminologist. They don't really tell much about him. They just say criminologist or an expert in it. But it's narrated by him. He kind of tells the story of what happened the night Brad and Janet ended up at this castle. But as he's telling the story, basically, in between songs, Dr. Frankenfurter ends up seducing both of them in bed. But he also, let's back up a little bit, because before that he creates what the movie is named for, Rocky. He actually, basically, this is obviously a play on Frankenstein. I don't know if you realize that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously this is a play on Frankenstein. He comes down and the Transylvanians are down there, and Tim Curry announces that he has found the secret to life. itself. And, he starts turning things, doing things, and next thing you know, Rocky is born. So we get to finally see Rocky, and he's dancing around. Now, did you ever notice he has no belly button?
I did not notice that fact because I never looked that hard at him. I tried not. It was weird because I'm a Tim Curry guy. Like I said, I think the guy deserves more props than he gets. Very underrated actor. Very underrated. Look him up, kids, if you don't know who he is.
Yeah.
But when I first saw this, like I said, I don't know about you, Box, but it really took me a while. It took me like a few viewings to really kind of really get into Rocky Horror. Because like the first time you see it, at least for me, it is fucked up. It is kind of weird. It takes a while, at least for me, to get into it. How about you?
No,
Did you get it like instantaneously?
Like I said, I was really young the first time I really saw this movie, so no, it was kind of weird for me too. But about 5 years later, like I said, my sister's friends were watching it, and they like I said, they would go see it. And then when I got in high school, a lot of my friends wanted to go and see it, and it kind of became a thing again. It just kind of has its time that it keeps coming back and back. This film will not die, and I hope it never does. Everyone should get to experience this film, the original.
Definitely.
And I think the original, I don't think the new one's going to become some sort of, new cult classic, but
well, you never know for this generation because everybody kind of attaches themselves to certain things, whether it's music, movies. But and I'm like you, Bugs. I honestly don't think. I think honestly we're at a point now in Hollywood where they're devoid of ideas. So now they're literally digging into their toolboxes and looking for anything that was even remotely a hit way back when to try to remake and just try to squeeze every last dime that they can. I hear they're fucking making a Sister Act remake, so that should tell you how devoid of ideas fucking Hollywood has become in 2016.
Jesus Christ! But I don't know. I mean, I've been expecting them to do this for a while. It's right around Halloween. I'm surprised they didn't do this a few years ago with this movie, but. All right, let's get back to the movie here. Smark also puts in here that Vincent Price was offered the role of the criminologist, the narrator we were just talking about, turned it down due to scheduling conflicts. I got a few more things. Do you know who was also in contention to play Tim Curry's character, Frankenfurter?
No, shoot.
Mick Jagger.
Oh. Oh God, Mick Jagger, the man that when this world comes to a fucking end will be alive and with cockroaches, and that'll be about it. That man is invincible.
Mick Jagger was actually in line to play this role, but obviously it didn't happen. And thank God, because I think Tim Curry made this role. I mean, I know, he made it his, but that's not what he really took to this role.
He embraced it. I mean, hey, let's be honest. It takes balls to be a woman, and it takes balls to dress up like a woman and kind of just put yourself in there and just put it all out there, so to speak.
It takes balls to be a woman.
To be a woman.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway,
it's late. That's another quotable.
We'll let that simmer for a minute there. And of course, after Rocky is born, another amazing song, because once that is happening, Rocky bumps into the deep freeze, and who comes out? Meatloaf.
Fucking Meatloaf.
Now, and I gotta tell you, I'm a Meatloaf fan. I really am. I think he's got an excellent voice. This performance here was probably one of his best performances, but he this is his only scene in the movie where he comes out and basically, sings this song and then is killed. But, great song. Here we go. I'll give you a little bit of it here. Just listening to that voice, could anyone else have sang that song?
Fuck no.
Meatloaf has one of the most powerful voices, naturally powerful voices, in my opinion.
Yes, but yeah, because he came up during an era where there was no auto tune, and you actually had to have some pipes, and you actually had to be able to blow on your own.
Oh, think about. He's basically I guess you could call him a rock opera singer.
Yeah,
I guess
he's a natural soprano, so to speak.
Oh, he basically does rock operas. That's basically what his albums are. Even that's what they are. I've got a few of his albums, and Meatloaf is amazing. His songs, his voice. So, if you're not up to, your Meatloaf standards, definitely check him out. Go to YouTube, get a few of his songs. He's great. He really is great. But I don't know anyone else who could have played this part as good as he did.
Yeah, he wasn't in the movie very long, but sometimes you just kind of get in and get the fuck out. That's it. That's all you need sometimes.
I'm sorry, Ted. Meatloaf is awesome. That man has a voice. I know you may not think so. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he does have some really good songs out there, and I really like. But my kids like Meatloaf songs. That's all I gotta say.
Now, I guess since we're on Meatloaf real quick, before he lost all of the weight, wasn't it kind of eerie with the hair and all, how much he looked like Sam Kinison, another one of your favorites?
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first saw Meatloaf, I'm like, is he related to Sam Kinison?
Yeah.
They were, especially in the 80s, man, they looked like fucking twins.
Yeah, they looked like brothers for a little while there. Oh, okay. Actually, he was agreeing. No one else could have done that part but Meatloaf. Okay. Sorry, Ted. I take back all the things I was thinking about what an asshole you were. All right. Where were we?
Meatloaf is fucking awesome.
Meatloaf is friggin' awesome. Obviously, in this movie, Meatloaf is Columbia's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever you want to call her. She's obviously excited to see him. But Frankenfurter takes care of that by killing Eddie with an axe quickly.
Yes.
But at least we got the song out of him.
Yes. Oh, and for you trivia buffs, it looks like Meatloaf was ranked 96th on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Hard Rock. Kind of low, but at least he made the top 100.
Yeah, whatever. Like I said, Meatloaf is not everybody's cup of tea, and he's really not going to be. But I personally think he's got an amazing voice. Look, I'm an Elvis fan too, so whatever. But actually, after the death, Brad and Janet shown to separate rooms where, like I said, they are each individually seduced by Frankenfurter. Obviously, Frankenfurter is a switch hitter. Obviously, he bats lefty and righty.
Wow. Oh, I just want to bring up, Smark brought up a little factoid here. Let me see. According to Meatloaf, Elvis Presley was the studio's first choice to play Eddie, and apparently Elvis had actually expressed some interest in doing so. Do you think that would have kind of changed the dynamic of the movie, or?
Wow, that would have been very weird.
Fucking Elvis Presley. Well, yeah, damn.
I couldn't even see Elvis doing a.
You got the voice for it, though. I
Let
mean,
me see. It was 1975. He died 2 years later.
yeah. And I guess he would have been out of shape at this point.
Oh,
But
in '75, he was already out of shape. I mean, that was, I believe that was like Blue Hawaii days, if I'm not mistaken. Not Blue Hawaii days. Like those Hawaii tours where he was just starting to get pudgy.
it's kind of weird because I guess like me, because Meatloaf, is all up until recently, over the past few years, was always a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, like, but I guess with Elvis though, it wouldn't have fit because people expect Elvis to he has like a unique look, with the jumpsuits and all that. And if Elvis had came on the scene fat and bloated and out of shape, it probably I guess for some people it wouldn't have worked. The visual of Elvis fat and out of shape trying to do his old moves probably wouldn't have worked for some people.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of him in 1975. He was just starting to get out of shape. You can see he's starting to get the jowls around his, in his face. His face was just starting to round out. And, still wearing the white jumpsuit, but, and the blue jumpsuit. God damn, he was a cool motherfucker.
And even towards the end, he kept it cool.
He was a cool motherfucker, man. He really was. God damn.
Karate kicking motherfucker too, apparently.
We need to do a fucking Elvis movie one night, just so I can talk Elvis. God damn it, we'll do that one night. So, yeah. So obviously, like I was saying, Frankenfurter's a switch hitter, which explains why he's a guy dressed up in a corset. So while he is engaging with Brad, I guess you could say, engaging, is that a good one?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah. Riff Raff and Magenta are downstairs, and you could sort of tell they're planning something throughout this movie, and what they're doing is basically torturing Rocky. He ends up breaking the chains, running, and this is where Janet finds out she's a dirty tramp. Basically. She starts singing her song. They find out was a virgin in this scene because she starts singing a song about, never being touched and heavy petting, and then she realizes Rocky is in there, and she gets in there and loses her virginity. So
she was deflowered.
She was. While this is happening, they run downstairs. Brad is down there. They all get discovered. And while they are down there, and there's a very funny scene where they all start saying each other's name, but Dr. Scott arrives. And this is where, another scene where the crowd always gets involved. Dr. Scott comes in, and this is where the movie gets even more weird, because they start talking about aliens. And Eddie had sent Dr. Scott, after they have a very awkward dinner, they start talking about how Eddie sent a letter saying that he was in with aliens, and hurry, might end up dead. So he read a note, and Frankenfurter tears off the tablecloth, and there is Eddie. Dead. They were eating Eddie. You want to talk about Eddie? That's a tender subject. Another slice, anybody? Oh, man. What a great fucking movie this is. So, we're kind of... this movie moves very quick. I don't know if you've realized this by now.
Sorry, folks. It's not that we're, glossing over it, but it's really, like I said, it's really a series of misadventures, and it really kind of goes by fast with this movie. And this is very much a visual movie. I mean, nothing that we can say about the movie can ever do it justice. It's real. Rocky Horror Picture. I mean, and I don't exaggerate when I say this. This is a movie you honestly have to experience to really get the gist of what we're saying.
It is. It is. But this is one of those. It is one of those kind of movies. You do need to experience it. You need to see it. But again, without the music, it's very hard to, really talk about it. But I do want to get into the new one and sort of make some comparisons. So, like I said, Smark will be calling in for that a little bit here. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into the new one is what we'll do.
Yes.
So, we're kind of getting into the end of the movie here. This is where they get into the floor show. Actually, Frankenfurter had Medusa transducered all of the Brad, Janet, Dr. Scott, and even Columbia, because she loved him and she yelled at him. So another great quote was in this movie when he did that was, "Even smiling makes my face ache." So that was another one. Now we go to the floor show where, he's in there hitting lights all frantic like someone getting ready to do a bunch of models. And we get another great song from all of them. Again, another one you have to just to see. First of all, the beginning of this song, you get to see Columbia's nipple throughout the whole thing. Both nipples, actually, are sticking out for this whole song. So you get to see those. You get to see Barry Boswick dressed up as a woman. And you get to see Susan Sarandon looking pretty sexy in this part. So,
Yeah, and I gotta say, since you brought her up, even as she started to age, she held on to her looks for a pretty long while. That Susan Sarandon.
she's still not looking horrible. Really, the last movie I remember seeing her in was The Client.
Oh, that's another movie that we kind of need to review. That was a pretty underrated flick.
I like that movie. That was a good movie with
Tommy Lee Jones. I wish I could remember the kid in the movie. I forgot his name.
I forget his name, but Anthony LaPaglia is in it.
Anybody from NYPD Blue Box?
Yeah, actually,
I know.
the guy who plays Barry Boswick's I'm sorry, the guy who plays Barry the Blade, Anthony LaPaglia's uncle, was a ex-cop in NYPD Blue. I'm sure if I watched it again, there's 4 or 5 more people, but I know he was an ex-cop in that movie. So, an ex-cop who committed murder in that movie, actually, and got away with it in that show. So, God, it's scary that I even remember what scene. I don't remember the name, but I could tell you the whole episode. That's all right. 2017's coming up. I'll watch it again. So, yeah, but you get to see some nice weird things. They do a nice performance in this song, and this is where Riff Raff and Magenta interrupt him. And basically, you know what? I think I can explain this here. Let me see if I can find. Hold on here. Let me do this. Give me a second here.
Take your time.
I'm gonna pull that part up.
Let me see if I can fill time with Rocky Horror Picture Show coming to a theater near you.
Oh yeah, it's. I'm sure. I'm surprised they haven't re-released it in theaters again. They do every now and then.
Yeah, so, I know they do it around Halloween and all that type of stuff, but
yeah, they usually do around Halloween. You're right. So
but actually, I'm surprised because it's a theater in Philly that kind of does a lot of old school movies, and on Mondays, and they do little things where you can kind of come as the characters, dress up, and they give you like $5 deals on alcohol, but you would love it.
Yeah, definitely sounds like something I'd be into. But yeah, that's usually what it ends up being, though. So, here, let me see if I can get right to this part here. This is the end here. All right, so basically, Riff Raff and Magenta were planning this the whole time to basically there is a mutiny in the Rocky Horror Picture Show here, is what happens here. So, what the hell? But, by the way, did you notice this? When they do focus on him, it's an RKO radio picture. Do you think that's where Randy? Do you think his initials? You think that's where it got? You think his dad was a closet Rocky Horror fan?
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
All right. Anyway, at this point, Frankenfurter sings a song trying to explain that he just got caught up in the human world and, damn it, he just wanted to fuck all he could. And Riff Raff.
Hey, that's the way to go.
There you go.
I look at it like this: rock out with your cock out.
Yep.
until the priest reads the last rites.
That's it, baby. Hang out with your wang out. Riff Raff does end up killing Frankenfurter and Rocky in this scene, and he does let Dr. Scott and Brad and Janet go, and that's pretty much. I mean, that's the movie. I mean, the movie itself isn't. Oh my God! It's so. The dialogue, the scenes. This one. It's there's a ton of quotes in this movie.
Yes.
The music is amazing in this movie. Yes. I guess the artist kind of, you know what? I'm not a big artsy fartsy guy, but I call this kind of an artsy fartsy movie, but I enjoy the artsy in this movie. You know what I mean?
It's just like I'm like U-Box. I'm not really a big art guy, so I can't really tell you a Rembrandt and all that other type of shit. But for this movie, it works. Like the over the top, the way they put the movie together, the sets and costumes, it just kind of fits for this movie. And it's like for whatever reason, it just stands out. Mm-hmm. And I paid attention to it more in this movie than I did in any other type of movie in terms of like costumes and set design. Because normally I don't pay attention to that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, by the way, let's not forget at the end of this movie when they're out there, the whole building takes off as a rocket ship. So, it's, ridiculous. There's a reason this movie is a cult classic. Most cult classics aren't great movies. They have a hook. Just like a song. They've got a hook. The hook in this movie is the songs and the story.
Yeah.
And that maybe not even the story, the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. The songs go with the scenes. There is some sort of other movie that Brad and Janet were in. Let me find that.
And shout out to Smart for I did break out into a random land there box a couple minutes ago, and it's because of fucking Smart. He's my one-liner guy. But let me see. According to Smart, this is the direct quote. Susan is still hot. Susan Sarandon, that is. I hit it right now. No questions asked.
Dude, I'm looking at the picture he posted.
Yeah, she can get it. And I'm a titty guy too, yeah.
I would,
Ivory might have been replaced.
I would, number one, not kick her out of bed. Number two, I'm glad I'm taller than her because I could get shots like this all the time. This is a great picture of Susan Sarandon right here. She looks amazing. I would definitely do that shit, dude.
Yeah, she's showing off the leg. Yeah, honestly, that's a woman that knows she can still get it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there is a 1981 Sharman reunited with O'Brien, which was Richard O'Brien and James Sharman, to do a movie called Shock Treatment, a standalone feature that was not a direct sequel. It's kind of the unofficial sequel. Their characters of Brad and Janet does reunite these two characters. It's in normal settings. I have never seen this movie, but I need to now find it. Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, Barry Boswick were not in this movie. And 10 years later, Richard O'Brien wrote another script, The Revenge of the Old Queen. It didn't do as well. And in 2014, it was announced that O'Brien, again, Riff Raff, would pronounce Shock Treatment for the theatrical stage, and it did in London.
So let me ask you, Box. I guess hindsight is always 2020. Do you think it was good or bad that there was never an official sequel to Rocky Horror? Do you think it would have done well,
No.
or do you think it's better that it was, was a standalone flick to, stand the test of time on its own?
There's some movies that need to be left alone. This is where the old "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" comes in. Do not mess with this movie. This movie has had such a cultural impact. I've heard this movie mentioned in like That 70s Show, Drew Carey's show. A bunch of movies and TV shows have mentioned this thing. In 2010, Glee did a whole Rocky Horror Glee show thing.
Yeah, I don't. I never watched an episode of Glee, so I wouldn't know. But
I read that.
I can believe it. I know that. Believe it or not, I actually know a couple of quotes popped up on like American Dad and Family Guy over the years.
Yeah, it says that in here too. I've never an American Dad also. I've never watched an episode of Glee. I am reading this. Barry Boswick and Meatloaf did a quick cameo role in it, by the way. But the only reason I even know the name Glee is because Charlotte Ross was in it, and she is smoking hot from NYPD Blue, of course. She played Andy's wife in the last few seasons.
Yo, Bob, so we need like a little timer or a little fucking NYPD Blue gimmick. Hello, ladies. Whenever you kind of make a comparison or a fucking connection to NYPD Blue, just hit that little mark.
I used to have a little police siren, but Shaheen made me take it down because it was scaring him. He thought cops were outside his house.
Wait a minute, I should be the one getting scared.
Yeah,
never mind.
You should be. Hey, Shaheen's Muslim. He should be very scared. All right. Let's see. I've got a few little trivia things here. I know Meatloaf Meatloaf originally walked out when he saw they did all the things before the play even happened. They really didn't know what was going to be going on in here, but Meatloaf did walk out of the American stage production when he first saw Tim Curry in his stage costume. Actually tried to run from the theater, but got stopped by a cop for jaywalking.
Yeah. He is. Yeah, Tim Curry's he's an ugly woman.
In Australia, Russell Crowe appeared as Dr. Scott in a stage version. Yes, Russell Crowe appeared as Dr. Scott.
Fucking badass gladiator was it?
Yes, sir.
That's a visual.
Yeah, it probably would be. If anyone remembers, right in the beginning of the time warp scene, they open a clock to show a skeleton in the coffin. That skeleton was a real human skeleton. The story behind that skeleton is that it was the secretary for the Countess of Roslin in England. So that was actually a real human skeleton we saw there. The actor who played Rocky in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, that gentleman would be Peter Hinwood. Peter Hinwood does not speak or sing any of his own lines in that movie. He could not carry one single note on key. According to the book Rocky Horror From Concept to Cult, his entire musical performance had to be dubbed over by singer Trevor White while he lip-synced the words. Was horrible. Couldn't even keep a note. The original director, Jim Sharman, was very displeased with his speaking voice, so just dubbed over every little thing, including the grunts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Copyrights a motherfucker, I guess.
Yep. The motorcycle scene where Meatloaf jumps the bike out of the freezer and crashes it saw actually several real accidents on the set. The stuntman got hurt. They actually went through a couple of stuntmen, and a couple of them got hurt incredibly bad. And I already mentioned this film still to this day holds the record for the longest theatrical film release.
Phenomenal. I mean, and it's weird. I mean, you already brought it up at the top of the show, but I just want to reiterate: what was the budget for this movie in 1975? 1.4 million or whatever it was.
The estimates I keep seeing are 1.2 to 1.4. So whatever you want to go with, I'm good.
No, so 1.2, 1.4. There's still a lot of fucking money, especially in 1970. That's the equivalent today of like $1 billion to make a movie or something like that.
Right.
So just think that's insane, and the fact that it went on to gross 140 million. Once again, like I think like Titanic is like it's still like in the top 5 or top 2 or 3 movies that made the most money ever. Would you say Rocky Horror is probably, if it came out today, would probably be in the top 10 in terms of all-time movies in terms of making money?
I don't. Times have changed, my friend. No, I do not think this movie would be big today. I think it would be looked at as very weird, very odd. I think this movie...
Oh, I'm the opposite. With all the hipsters we got running around, I think it'd be a hit.
It could be, but I'll tell you what, man, there's films that have tried to be that cult kind of film, and it just doesn't work today. Kids don't... God, I feel like an old man saying that. Kids don't want to do this anymore. They don't want to get involved. They don't even want to leave the fucking house. And dude, I got to tell you something, man. Sometimes to get my 8-year-old out of the house, I feel like I have to beat him to get him out of the house. Like, dude, come on. Come on. They just don't want to do this anymore. And I think even older kids, they got more interest. Everything else is more to them. I got older nephews, and they don't even know what the original Rocky Horror is. Then again, my sister hates this movie. So...
I don't know, man. For some reason, I think it's fucked up and weird enough to appeal to a certain demographic and really kind of grow from there. Because I know what you mean about like kids today, like are being like they're kind of like insulated. They don't want to take chances. But this movie to me had just the right of dilly gaff, not giving a fuck.
Well,
to really kind of be something to me and to really kind of grow into something. For some reason, even though it's a different time. The direct, you could just tell, like they went into it. Like I said, they went into the movie, not expecting it to be anything.
Yeah.
They just kind of went into it like, hey, a bunch of buddies. Look, we just gonna have fun with this shit. If we make a couple bucks along the way, so be it.
Problem with this
So they
movie.
went into it. It's almost like once you stop not giving a fuck, that's when you kind of are the most successful in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie is. Like they didn't really care. They didn't have any expectations. So if I'm thinking like if this movie came out today, 40 something years later, for some reason my gut tells me it would be a hit almost instantly. It wouldn't even go through the process of down the line 12 years or 10 years down the line. Oh, Rocky Horror Picture's a hit now. People found it. I think this would be a hit almost instantaneously. Look at some of the movies that have come out over the last 5 to 10 years that are fucking hits and that are, in my opinion, garbage.
I just don't think that. I think it's a very non-politically correct movie. It really is when you think about it. This movie is completely opposite of PC. Some of the quotes in this movie, some of the main quotes in this movie couldn't even be said that. I mean, the sweet transvestite from Transsexual Transylvania. Ew, you can't call me a transvestite. You can't say I'm transsexual. And what in the fuck is Transylvania? Is that some kind of joke? You can't do it anymore, dude. You can't do it anymore. A mental mind fuck can be nice. I don't even think you could say that anymore on screen. They'd be like, "Oh my god." Let me see some more lines here.
You might have a lot of people up in arms about the gay kind of like innuendos and all that kind of stuff. But you don't think like nowadays it just seems like everybody's coming out left and right. I'm here. I'm queer. Get used to it. Whatever the saying is, and it's like I don't know. It just seems like the gay community, not to steal a phrase, is everywhere. Like you know what I mean? So. I don't know. It's just like everybody's involved. Everybody wants to be represented on film.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at remember Will and Grace back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, I've never really, I didn't like sit and watch it religiously, but
I caught an episode here and there, but
right.
I think the lead guy. I mean, obviously the two lead characters was gay on the show, and I think the one guy, I think it's Sean Hayes. I think he is gay in real life. Now, from what you saw of the show. Don't you think? I mean, obviously he was a real gay guy. Do you think his performances sometimes could be interpreted as maybe a bit over the top and kind of feeds into those stereotypes that people have of the gay community?
Yeah, but I don't think
kind of like.
I don't think they have a problem with that. They have no problem with flamboyant gay guys. Jesus Christ, look at some of the. I mean, flamboyantly. Listen, you got to remember. Elton John in the 1970s. He was the most and you know what? I'm going to use a bad word here. I hope no one gets mad. He was a flamboyant fag in the 1970s. Elton John. Look at him. I mean, look, here's a guy who was in, Tommy the Who, the movie. I don't know if you even knew that, but they had a movie. And he's a total freak. Look at some of the old things. He came out in big glasses. Come on, look at Liberace. How the hell?
I mean,
how the fuck did you people not know that guy was? How did you people not know that guy was gay?
The fuck out of here. I mean, look, I don't give a damn, but I mean, clearly, like when he was like fucking like on the first WrestleMania with the fucking line, the Rockettes.
Yeah, he was dancing better than them.
If that wasn't a dead giveaway that guy was a flaming fag.
Jesus, we both used it now. All right, Anthony.
yeah, I figure. Yeah, you shouldn't take all the heat. We're co-hosts. We're partners.
Thank you.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying though. I just look at it like
if we're gonna,
I'm an equal opportunity offender.
There you go. If we're gonna go down in flames, we're both going down together, bro.
I'm just saying, like even with all of the overtones, and it seems like we had this discussion every week. Times are changing. Like All in the Family would be kicked off the air after 2 or 3 episodes if it came out today, because. You can't have a guy, a middle-aged white guy, getting on camera, telling,
Dude,
saying everything
honeymooners.
that's on his mind.
The honeymooners wouldn't be able. He's threatening to hit his wife in the
boom, zip.
boom to the moon, Alice. He's threatening to beat his wife. No way. No way.
Even though it was comical. You remember how like he would do the bang zooms and you hear the audience in the background.
I really feel
beater.
the last show that was able to get away with that kind of humor, I believe. South Park can, but it's cartoons, so I don't really put that in the same category. But Married with Children, I believe, was probably one of the last hurrahs of great comedies.
Political incorrectness.
I really think so. And like I said, you can throw South Park, but that's in a completely different category since it's a cartoon for me.
Now, Box, let me ask you, because I was in a video store earlier that I actually found. It's called We Buy. Shout out to those guys. They actually have like a treasure trove of random shit or whatever you're looking for. And I kind of like was eavesdropping. They got into a little debate about like South Park, how they're able to get away with certain things. Like I think they did an episode one time where they basically fucking ran Mickey Mouse over the coals, and one guy had brought up like, I wonder how they got away with that Disney, all that kind of stuff. And we just got into a little debate. And I wanted to get your viewpoint on it. I think there's like an understanding amongst the film industry or the entertainment industry as a whole that kind of like everybody knows what South Park is, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's an understanding that South Park wouldn't be South Park if they didn't go there. So it's like everybody, as long as everybody's making money, South Park can get away with certain things that other people can't. So what do you think about that? Because it seems like even in this uptight, politically correct world that we live in right now, this pussified generation, South Park still seems to be able to live by those not give a fuck rules. Like it's still like the 90s or the fucking 70s.
I think.
What do you think about that? Like, what do you think? Why do you think they get a pass where other people get raked over the coals?
I think there's a few reasons. I think they're cartoons. That's a help. They're characters. They're fictional characters. Number one. They're on cable, which is a big help. Not only are they on cable, they're on a channel called Comedy Central. If you don't understand what you're watching on Comedy Central, change the fucking channel. You know what I mean? Listen, and those guys, I respect, what is it, Trey Parker and Matt Stone?
Yep.
They don't apologize.
They don't apologize for shit.
They don't apologize. Matter of fact, if you fuck with them, all they will do is put you in the fucking show. That's what they will do. And they will bury your ass on their show. I respect the fact that they don't apologize for comedy, for jokes. And I really think they get away with a lot because people see it for what it is. Again, character. This kind of goes back to, remember the movie Private Parts? Howard Stern movie.
Yeah, back when Howard Stern had balls. I mean,
there you go.
I never thought I would live to see the day where fucking the entertainment industry would finally cut off the balls to Howard Stern.
Yeah, exactly.
That day.
But you know what? It goes back to that where Pig Vomit, which was played by Jesus Christ. The fuck? Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti, who after that movie has been in everything from there. He says to Howard, see, Imus doesn't say the bad thing. He has a character say it. You know what I mean? It's not as shocking. It's not as offensive to people when you have fictional characters say it. And it's really less offensive when you have a cartoon character say it, in my opinion. I think that's part of it. And I think, like I said, just being on Comedy Central, a cable channel, is a plus for them. You know what you're getting on Comedy Central. If you don't, like I said, change the fucking channel. And by the way, go fuck yourself because you have no sense of humor. There you go.
Definitely. I'll be honest. I've been out of the loop on South Park. I do have to get back into it, but I'll be honest with you. It'd be a sad day when that show kind of calls it a career, because if you really think about it, I don't ever see another show, at least in our lifetimes, not to get too fucking morbid over here, but I don't think we'll ever see another show that'll really kind of come and just kind of like push the boundaries of what's socially acceptable on television in terms of, just pushing the envelope and, like tackling current events and actually talking about shit as it had. The beauty of South Park is if something happens, whether it's 9/11, whether it's Bill Cosby, whether it's fucking whatever, they don't give a fuck. White, black, they're, like I said, they're equal opportunity offenders.
Right.
They will fucking bury your ass 6 feet deep and not apologize for shit.
Yeah, and now the only kind of current events people want to see are on like a Law and Order SVU, where they show current events too. Of course, they say they're all fictional, but they obviously do current events. But I don't know, man. It's just I mean, we do talk about it on every show. The world has gotten PC since 2004. And, a few stations have been able to, a few shows have been able to not back down and still keep with what they've been doing. And South Park is one of the lucky ones, So good for them. I mean, when did South Park start? How long has that show been on?
Since 98.
What?
Like 90 said somebody can I'm about to check it down, but I believe it debuted in like 98.
Excuse me. Here, hold on. I'm burping over here. Damn Heineken.
It's about to get fun now if you start burping.
Oh yeah. Fucking Heineken's got me here. All right, let's go to up. We're going to look for South Park. There it is. 1997, South Park.
Yeah, I knew it was like 97, 98.
So they've 281 episodes. They have stood the hands of time, if you will. So
yeah.
All right, there we go. You want to let's yeah, 97. You're right. It was Smark. Look at Smark. He's like the fucking South Park fucking Rain Man over there. All right. So real quick, we're going to take a quick five, and we'll come on back. We'll get Smart to call in, and we will talk a little bit about the new remake that was on Fox last Thursday night of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good time. The party's just getting started.
Yeah. So we will be back in, I think we mean 5 minutes tonight. So be back in 5, y'all.
See.
All right. There we go. We're back. And, oh, good. I hit record. Awesome. Look at that. I almost forgot. All right, so we're
doing
back.
the show apparently.
Yeah, look at that. We actually, thanks to Smarka Wahlberg for calling on in. He's gonna join us to talk about the new. I guess you call it the new Rocky Horror or the remake or reprise. I don't know. What would you call this?
I would say remake.
Okay, remake. Which happened last Thursday on Fox.
Sir.
It was... Look, I know it's 2016. It was different. I know I knew it was going to be. It was a little awkward, I guess, to say the least.
Definitely.
I do want to say, first of all, Laverne Cox is in this movie, in this version, I guess we'll call it. She is a transgender person, and Frankenfurter should not have tits like that. I'm not sure what to... I was very confused during this because This dude's got a great set of tits. That's all I gotta say.
You want to tell us something, Box? You want to? Is this a?
It's a very confusing thing because those things are just sitting there, and you're like, "Oh my god, I want to look, but I shouldn't look, but I can't look, but they're there."
Hey, you know what this proves? Titties and titties. At this point, like
mouse and
the
mouse.
titties look good.
But they're not. Those are titties on a dude.
Yeah.
Those are titties on a dude. Anyway, it was a little confusing. I didn't know whether to get a boner or not, so I just taped it down.
Box, did you just go into a room and say he's a dude?
That's what I kept thinking.
Had to give yourself a pep talk. Like,
Did you just you keep repeating the mantra? I'm not gay, bro. I'm not gay, bro.
I'm going back to an old Bobcat Goldthwait comedy show where he would sit there and he would be like, I'm sitting there, and I would get there, and then I'd be like, it's a guy. It's a guy. Look at the Adam's apple. But anyway, let's change subjects. Christina Milian looked great in her part as Magenta. I do believe the girls they used were a bit too hot.
Yes. This was actually one of my biggest problems with the movie.
The girls were a bit too hot. The girl who played Columbia, I thought, was probably the best fit of all of the characters. And the guy who played Riff Raff. I would say those two, in my opinion, were the best fit. What do you think, Smart?
In terms of performance-wise, yes. In terms of stylistically, like, Riff Raff basically just looked like Chris Angel. Like, he looked like a part-time Hot Topic model. Like, that was, again, like I'm saying, that is my biggest problem with this movie. It's like everyone was way too pretty. They were these people have to look rugged and weird, but we also need to have sponsors, and so we have to sign up all these pretty Hollywood people instead of the, rough and rugged type people that they hired originally.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, but just without even having seen it, just based off what you guys are saying in the review here, look at 2016, man. Look where we're at. Like, you have to. Unfortunately, we live in a world where it's no longer cool to stand out. Right? We were talking about the Honeymooners earlier.
Yeah.
A guy like Jackie Gleason, as talented as he was, as funny as he was, would probably get laughed out of most studios nowadays because, oh, you're too fat, you're not pretty enough. How many fucking people would get laughed out of fucking studios if they don't have a six-pack, they don't have titties out the hair? Females, Box, females, calm down.
Look, the guy who played Rocky was basically a Zach Morrison lookalike. He really was.
Did he have a big ass cell phone?
He looks like he really does. He's dude. Pull it up on IMDb. Just look at the photos. He is a Zach Morris lookalike. The guy who played Brad was decent. Adam Lambert as Eddie, I felt a little embarrassed for him.
Yeah, see, I've seen the original movie so many times, and I was just, until I saw the remake, I was unaware that George Michael played Eddie, because that's what they look like they're trying to recreate. He just looks like a fake ass
he
George
did look
Michael.
like George Michael in the Faith video. Holy fuck!
Does.
You just made me think of that. Because you gotta have faith. All right. Anyway,
oh shit.
The girl who played Columbia, though, I really thought was probably the best in this movie. I was very upset they didn't let her do the original dance that Columbia does in the middle of Time Warp. She did some fancy tap dancing scene. Just wasn't the same to me.
No,
it just wasn't the
like
same.
Overall, this movie seemed like it was people who were fans of the movie, but they were way too aware of it, if that makes sense. Like, it seemed like they were fans trying to recreate something instead of actors trying to play parts.
There were two very I don't know, two things that angered the original Rocky Horror fan in me. Number one, all the quotable lines in the movie, they overstressed them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You know, the quotable lines during the songs, they overstressed. You don't let them fall where they fall. You don't have to do that. And I really thought there would be more crowd participation scenes. The only scenes we got to see were the anticipation
Say it.
and when Dr. Scott rolls down, they threw toilet paper. They didn't do the rubber gloves when he was doing his speech. They didn't throw newspapers during the rain. They didn't throw toast when Frank proposes a toast at dinner. You know, there was so many more things they could have let the audience get involved in. Why didn't they use it as an audience involvement thing? There were, I mean, I don't know. To me, that's what it looked like it was going to be. That's what I was really expecting. And when I watched it, I saw 2 times the audience got involved. No, 3. You know what? 3 times, because they did throw confetti at the end of the Charles Atlas song with Rocky Horror. So 3 times was the only times that they really did anything that was in the movie. To me, it just seemed like they should have had more crowd participation. I think it would have made it more fun and a little more. I mean, look, if you're showing this to a new 2016 audience, wouldn't you want to really let them know what this movie is about? And crowd participation is what the live showing is about. So, I don't know. That was my the 2 major things I had with this movie. I really didn't get into the whole, the acting wasn't great, and, you know, Ben Vereen as Dr. Scott was weird.
Ben Vereen. No, I'll say this, and I honestly think, the one thing that probably could have solved this whole debacle, because it seems like it's a debacle based on what I'm hearing from you guys, but I think that if they had maybe consulted with an actor or director or fucking the janitor that might have worked on the movie, somebody from the original movie, that you think that might have helped improve things a little bit?
Tim Curry was the narrator in this movie, the criminologist, but even his part I thought was over-exaggerated.
Well, let me add a little bit of context to that.
Sure.
Tim Curry earlier this year, or I believe at the end of last year, had a stroke, so he's still in recovery. So if his performance was a little bit off, that might have a lot to do with it.
And I'm not putting look. I'm not saying he was horrible. He wasn't. Listen, it's good to see Tim Curry in any part, and you're right.
Yeah.
He did have a stroke last year and is in recovery. So it was still good to see him doing anything in that movie.
Sure.
And like I said, Ben Vereen as Dr. Scott, you know, man, I don't even know what to say here. Do we have to have, and Anthony, please don't take offense to this, do we have to have the token black guy in every movie?
Hey, it's 2016.
Listen,
look, I agree.
Go ahead.
I look at it like this. Look, I don't take offense to it because you know what? I was one of the people that was pissed off when they remade The Honeymooners with a black cast. It's just like, to me, look, certain things are what they are. Don't try to appeal to everybody. If the day ever comes where they do an I Love Lucy remake, I don't want to fucking see Ricky Ricardo with a Jamaican accent.
Right.
It just don't work. You stick to the original concept of what something was and stop trying to appeal to every goddamn segment of society. Everything is not meant to appeal to everybody. Just keep it the way it was, or don't bother making this shit at all.
Yeah, that's probably the way I should have said it, but...
And I think if you're looking for, like, if you want to look at it on a business level, if you're looking to fill a quota, I think more naturally and more organically, Laverne Cox does that. Because not only is she a transvestite, but she's also, or she or he, or however you want to phrase it, is an African American.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to purposely go out of your way to inorganically cast diversity when you already have diversity.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And, and Christina Milian as Magenta, I thought was bad casting also.
Yeah, I would do just things to her that like defy all kinds of laws.
She's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, she is gorgeous. And again, the girl Anna Lee Ashford, who played Columbia, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous girl. And the girl who was singing at the beginning, Kelly Vanderberg, who played Betty at the beginning, gorgeous girls. A little too beautiful, though. You know what I mean? Susan Sarandon was beautiful back then, but she wasn't like... Susan Sarandon was, and still, she's the kind of girl you could walk into a bar and see sitting there.
Approachable.
Right. Right. I mean,
she's, like, she's, I mean, I hope she's, I don't mean this in a derogatory way. She just kind of come, like you said, Box. That was a good analogy. Like, she seems like the type of girl you could see in a bar that's attainable. Yeah. That's attainable for you on that night.
Which,
put it like that. That's the best way I can put it without being sounding like an asshole.
Yeah, and well, people have said the same thing about Stephanie McMahon, and I agree. Stephanie is Stephanie's.
You would have to put in too much. I think you would have to put in some work with that one.
Nah, Stephanie's the kind of hot you would see at 2 a.m. at a bar, and you'd be like, "Yeah, she'll do. She'll do." Look at those big
ugly.
fakies.
I just have an issue with her personality.
Well, yeah, and then she would,
Well, she's a horrific person, but that's a different podcast. But
yeah, that's a whole different podcast. But
the point of the night.
I mean,
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and even Columbia, she was very beautiful in the original, but she had a certain. My God, how do you say this?
Naive charm.
Yeah. Dirtiness?
Yes, I think, honestly, like, the people in the original cast were not ugly people, but they were unconventionally attractive. Like, Susan Sarandon, she kind of has the bug eyes.
They looked like sci-fi. These girls looked like they walked off of a model set. The original, look, and I'm not saying this was bad. I have an open mind. It's 2016. I wasn't expecting to see, Tim Curry out there dancing around in a fucking corset. Right. But I expected, like I said, more crowd interaction, which is what they kind of showed it as, a crowd interactive live performance. Mm-hmm. But that's not what we got. We got a watered-down
homage.
Oh, there you go. A watered-down homage to a film. Some of the scenes were good. I thought the last scene actually was good. In the in this newer one, from the dinner scene to the end, I thought was the best part of the whole show. Mm-hmm. Except they couldn't say the word mental mind fuck. They had to say a mental mind game can be nice. That annoyed me. It's Fox. I've watched Rescue Me. They say fuck. They say shit. Why couldn't they? That's all I'm saying. It's one F word on Fox. Come on. Really? Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's FX they do it on, and I know they probably weren't going to do it. This was a prime time special, correct?
Yes, it was. It came on at like 8 o'clock.
Right. So, and I understand they can't do that, but there were a few casting issues I had in this. And like I said, I really thought the crowd should have been more interactive in it. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I just thought the casting could have been better. Like I said, Adam Lambert is way too pretty to be Eddie.
In other words, the common theme that I'm hearing here is the casting was too pretty.
Yeah,
We needed more awkwardly attractive people.
I guess that's, man, it's really weird to say that, but yeah.
yes.
I mean, I guess, like I said, this is obviously not a wrestling podcast, but this just popped in my head. She's not somebody that you probably would think of as conventionally attractive in the normal sense of the word, but you look at somebody like Eva Marie. She's obviously like super duper hot. She's not the type of chick that you see walking down the street every day.
Right.
But somebody that I thought was underrated in her attractiveness, rest in peace, Sensational Sherry. When you actually took off all of the makeup and the gook and shit that they had her wearing on TV, she was a pretty good looking woman. Like, naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, even, and again, she was, but yeah, I guess that's it.
I mean, like, she's like somebody that probably, I mean, obviously she's not in this type of genre, but I think that's what you're trying to say, like, more down or not ugly people. So, we want to put that out, not ugly people, but more like regular looking people.
More, yeah.
More Dusty Rose types.
I don't, listen, and I mean, even the girl that played Janet, which was Victoria Justice, listen, she is an amazing looking girl. But again, Susan Sarandon is a beautiful woman. But like I said, you could walk into a bar and see someone that looks
attainable.
that type.
She's not like one of these. She's attractive enough for you to be like, oh yeah, I want to fuck her. But she's not like overly attractive to the point where like I don't have a fucking chance.
Yeah, and you know what? By the way, the girl singing in the beginning was Ivy Levin. That was her name. I said it was Kelly something. But she's done a few things, not many movies, but she's been in a few movies. She was drop dead gorgeous is what she was. The girl singing in the beginning. Yeah, but she was really good. I don't know.
Okay, off the top of your head.
I really don't want to say that this was bad because I feel like I'm trashing something that wasn't meant to be great. It was meant to be a remake, but I think it could have been a little more planned out.
So what do you guys think? All right, in other words, like, I guess, you obviously, you can't go back to the well of the original cast. They're older. Some of them are, unfortunately passed away. Do you think that, I mean, who would you have put in this remake? Who do you think could have made this remake better?
You could have put
or at least manageable.
The number one that comes out in my head is like in terms of Eddie, I would go with like Jack Black.
Oh Jesus, he would have been great at that.
Jack Black, wow, that's a. I mean, he's not like old, but it's like, man, it just feels like I haven't heard his name in so fucking long.
My God, if Farley was still alive, jeez,
that would have been great.
You think he could have pulled it off?
Oh my God, could he have pulled it off?
Oh damn! Come to think of it, yeah, he did it. Yeah, especially when he got pissed off, and honestly, when Farley got pissed off, you could believe he was ready to fuck shit up.
Oh, he would have pulled it, and the medic would have got out and said, "Oh my God!" Yeah, he could have pulled that part off. You know what? Let's see here. Who else? Look, you could have had Barry Boswick. Isn't exactly too old to play something, and he would have been a great Dr. Scott.
Yeah.
Sure.
Matter of fact, he I think Smark, you said Susan Sarandon was 70. He can't be too far off of that. He got to be in his early 70s.
Let's see.
Yeah,
I don't even think he's that old. Excuse me. I just burped again.
And how was that? You think that's a hell of a jump box to go from Rocky Horror Picture Show to the mayor on Spin City?
I'm telling you, man. Every time I watch, and they made it. Oh my God, you're right. He's 71 years old.
So yeah, they like a year apart, I guess.
Yep, he's 71 years old. So,
and I mean, the question has to be asked, like, how much are we talking in terms of like funding for cast choices? But like maybe Johnny Depp is like Frankenfurter or something like that. I'm just brainstorming. Like, yeah, I can't really think of anybody who would do that role. That's
You know what? You bring Johnny Depp in, all the mainstream haters are gonna. You ruined another fucking classic movie I loved, man. Johnny fucking Depp in his pretty face, man.
Honestly,
could be a lot worse. Could be Shia LaBeouf.
And a pretty face, man.
And look, I'll tell you this, and this is not the filling type of quota.
Oh no!
for like a narrator role. You know, honestly, just because they
Morgan
got the voice
Freeman?
for it, just because they got the voices for it, you know who would have been a good choice for a narrator?
Forrest Whitaker.
No, good choice, but I was going for either what's the guy's name? I was either gonna go for like Keith David or Morgan Freeman.
Keith David would have been a solid choice.
Because you know, WWE actually uses Keith David from time to time on some of their documentaries.
Bitch, if you said Kevin Hart, I was gonna fucking hang up on your ass. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, if you would have said Kevin Hart, we wouldn't have been friends anymore. That's how deep that
I'm
was.
like, all right, that was the last with Smark is my new co-host now, and
you would have got the Poochie treatment. Anthony died back on his way to his home planet.
Fucking Benoit treatment for that shit.
I actually buried Kevin Hart a couple days ago.
I like Kevin Hart. Look,
I like him.
listen.
I don't know. It's just like he's starting to get he's starting to jump the shark for me personally.
Look, you know what? When Hollywood wants you, they want you. You are not. Listen, you know how much money he is making.
In my opinion, Kevin Hart is basically like the black Jimmy Fallon. Like, he's non-offensive. He's safe.
He's safe. I put it to you like this: if Patrice O'Neal hadn't died, or if fucking Cat Williams hadn't lost his damn mind, Kevin Hart, like he would be in 5th place at best.
I don't know.
I mean,
man.
you think about it, like Hollywood, like in terms of like the major roles and shit, like Hollywood likes casting corny black dudes. Like Nick Cannon has all over the place. Steve Harvey is all over the place. Things like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I still believe Kevin Hart was coming. I don't think there was any stopping Kevin Hart. I don't know.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Hollywood loves him.
He is funny, and he is a funny dude. I'm not trying to say he's not talented. But if you listen to his act, or if you watch any of his movies, they're basically fucking the same jokes. Just he switched. Only thing he changed is the order that he tells them in.
Oh yeah,
there's really no diversity.
No, he's not. Look, he's the kind of comic who he got lucky. Hollywood loves this fucking guy, and since what? I would say since 2013. 2013, I would say he was in Grudge Match with Stallone. I would say that movie right there is when he started blowing up. 2013, and then he's blown up since. He's been in fucking every goddamn movie you could think of where they needed a token black guy.
Took over the Mike Epps role of just being the kind of dumb guy in the movie.
Well, yeah, Mike Epps is pretty much just doing YouTube videos now.
Yeah, man.
Because I think he's a way better talent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like Hollywood looks at it like he's not, like Smark said, to put it bluntly, he's safe. I mean, you think about it. He's not like a Richard Pryor or trying to think of somebody else off the top of my head, or in the Cat Williams. He's not going to make any type of grandiose political statements. He's not like a Chris Rock. He's not going to go off on racial tirades.
No, you know what he is.
Isn't racially based. It's not like, it's not going to piss people off. No. It's not going to piss off certain demographics.
Do you know who he is?
Safe. It's,
you know who he is?
It's bubblegum comedy, basically.
He is an African-American Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Even Adam Sandler had more balls. I'm sorry.
No, but again, very low key. Never see him in the news for anything crazy. Adam Sandler is your safe guy. You're not going to see Adam Sandler go on a drunken, drugged out tear and ruin your movie opening. And you're not going to see Kevin Hart do it either. He's basically the the Black Adam Sandler, and he really is.
You won't hear stories of fucking Kevin Hart doing lines of coke off of some hooker's tits. So,
Oh, that's probably a good 5-6 years down the road. I mean, that's going to happen, but it's going to take a while to get to that point.
if anything, that would make me a fan instantly again. I'd be like, yeah,
listen,
Kevin Hart's the fucking man.
He's a short guy. Eventually, the Napoleon syndrome is going to kick in, and he's going to have to get fucking go crazy. So.
Yeah. Go crazy because at some point he's going to become irrelevant. So
exactly, he's gonna
kickstart his career.
He's gonna, but I don't know. Meanwhile, any movie he does with The Rock, you may as well give him fucking a few $1 million.
What's funny is even in acting now, The Rock has to carry people.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have that Central Intelligence movie and I want to check it out.
I heard it's good. We actually got reviewed it for the show. I'm hearing good things about it.
Yeah,
I hear The Rock, carried it apparently.
Look, The Rock, the guy's amazing. I don't know what else you can say about him, but talk about blurring the lines between silly wrestler and big time actor.
He's eclipsed them all, and I think when all is said and done, he'll probably go down as the most successful of them all. I mean, his bank account alone.
Dude, last year he was one of the most one of the highest paid actors. Dude, he did what Hogan wanted to do. He did what Stone Cold wanted to do. Piper was trying to do. Was break that line down of just being a silly, corny wrestler.
No, I would say with the exception of Piper and Terry Funk, because I think Terry Funk could have pulled it off.
There you go. He was.
Rock took it seriously. Like after he did I think Scorpion King, his first couple movies, he went and actually took acting lessons.
Yeah,
he stepped outside of his range. Because if you look at some of this shit, I mean, we like it because we like hokey shit on this show. But come on, let's be honest. Suburban Commando, fucking No Holds Barred. Hogan was just playing an over-exaggerated self of himself on camera.
Hogan was taking
there was no range there.
No, he was taking the money. That's it.
Hogan has all the range of a GPS submerged in water.
I mean, put it to you like this. Hogan's charisma works in wrestling, but in movies, it kind of like you have to show some range. You have to show some emotional range.
Listen, Hulk Hogan's most famous part is Rocky III, and it's 10 minutes, 9 minutes at the most. Come on, that's his most famous part.
A wrestler, that was it.
His other most famous part is his dick, and he didn't want to, and he wanted to take his son's call, so he stopped fucking somebody.
Speaking of remakes, I hear Hulk Hogan's in line to be the lead in the American History X remake.
Oh,
God.
That's horrible.
There's only one Hulkster.
Put your mouth on that curb, brother.
So wait a minute. Seriously, though. Let's think about this for a minute. How bizarre is it that fucking Hulk Hogan has a sex tape that we know of and not Ric Flair? How many sex tapes of Ric Flair should it be by now?
Let me just say that tells me one thing. Ric Flair is the smarter guy.
Definitely.
Okay? We can say all we want.
Just imagine the kind of ass Ric Flair done got over the years.
Oh, I mean, look, as much dicky waving as he's done, he's never been on tape, and we've never actually had to look at that fucking old wrinkled clock.
He's smart enough to keep his racist tirades unrecorded.
He's smart enough to not do it in a prison. Number one.
Yes.
Ric Flair keeps his racist tirades to his home and his soon-to-be wife, like a smart man does, and only in his car with the windows rolled up, way up. I mean, that's where my racist tirades come from. Driving in my car with the window up.
Yes.
I use words that were banned in the 80s. I mean...
Let me tell you something about these Chinamen, bro.
And those were liberal times. I mean... All right, enough of that.
This derailed immediately.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with any of this, but wow, yeah,
we got the movie out of the way. This is.
yeah, and we got what I really wanted to say. Mainly, the two things I wanted to say about the new one were the fact that the audience participation blew, and the over-exaggerated quotes were just. You're shoehorning. You're literally shoehorning the fact that, oh, that was a famous quote. Ooh, that was on IMDb. Ooh, that's a Wikipedia quote. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I hate to keep going back to wrestling metaphors, but it seemed like there were certain parts of the movie where it's like they wanted people to be like, okay, this is the part where you cheer, this is the part where you say this. Like they were kind of holding their hand, and that's not how that works.
No.
And I wanted to get your opinion real quick about, you said the audience participation blew, but conceptually speaking, do you think including a live audience in the remake was a good idea?
Yeah, and obviously it wasn't when you say a live audience, obviously they were actors.
Right, yeah.
Quote unquote live audience. I think if they had put an actual live audience, yeah, I think it really would have added to the experience. What was it, an hour and a half show?
Yeah, about that.
What? I mean, do a 3-hour night. Make it a fucking night. Have some fun.
Oh.
You know
what it is? Like I said, I guess it goes to, I think, like I said, they had people in the audience, unfortunately, that weren't as familiar with it. It's like, okay, once again, I know we keep going back to wrestling, but it's like, TNA or WCW even back in the day when they would tape at Universal Studios, and they would do like a rotation of basically it wasn't like actual wrestling fans, it was fucking park goers, people that were just there as part of like the Universal package. They weren't fucking wrestling fans. They would put up like signs, when to applaud. Oh, Sting! All right, everybody got to clap now. They weren't true fans, so they didn't understand what the fuck was going on. Do you think they might have been better off, I don't know, doing a survey or actually selecting people that actually were familiar with the concept of the movie and how it worked? And
yes.
It would have came across better as opposed to just having random people there that may have saw it or may have not, or they may have got it, or they saw like two other people doing it and they didn't want to be the one guy in the crowd. Oh, this is the part when why is nobody else joining in?
Listen, you want to have actors there, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they're actors. I just think they should have shown. I mean, what I said was just what I had off memory. There's probably 5 or 6 more things that the crowd gets involved in that I didn't even mention. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things said during the movie. During the wedding in the beginning, people throw rice. Yep. You get hit with rice in the theater, dude. Seriously.
You sure do.
You get hit with fucking rice. So, listen, again, I don't care if you use actors. I think they should have. The only way to take a new audience and teach them what the movie is really about is to teach them. Listen, God, I hate to. I really sound old when I use this. Bring a man a fish, teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for the rest of his life. Bring a man a fish, he'll eat for one day. Teach people. Teach them what the movie is about. Teach them what it would be like to go see it live. You know what? Holy shit! This looks like fun to go see live. I want to go. You could get a whole generation of people wanting to. That did not get me. You know what it made me want to do? It made me want to watch the original.
Yeah, I think that was my main overarching question, was who is this movie for?
Yeah, what is...
the Rocky Horror fans are not going to want to watch this.
No.
And, it seemed like they were trying to do it for a new generation, but I feel like if a new generation, the people that want to watch this or seek this out, they're going to watch the original. Because it's not a pop, it's not American Idol. It's not like a thing that's within the popular culture. It's a niche thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the people that are a part of that niche, the newer generation, are going to seek out the original.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I know I'm really kind of harping on the crowd participation, but I think the crowd participation in a show like this is key. And I mean key.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I guess I guess to answer Smart's question, who is it appealing to? I don't think it's designed to appeal to anybody. I think we're in a point now in the entertainment industry because we're seeing it in wrestling all the day. Ooh, Goldberg was popular in 1998. Let's bring him back. People remember Goldberg. Ooh, you know, Brock Lesnar. He was cool. He was a star once upon a time. Well, he still is a star. But you get what I'm saying. Like anything that was remotely popular way back when, whether it was even if it was 50 years ago, they're bringing back concepts not really with an audience in mind per se, but they figure, oh, if it made money in 1975, surely we can make money off of it in 2016. And I think that's as far as the thought process goes.
Well,
I don't think they're necessarily making it to appeal to older fans. I don't even think they're trying to create new fans. They just look at a franchise that they had from back in the day that made some money, and they figure they can make some money off of it today.
well,
I think that's as far as the thought process goes.
yeah, I mean, nostalgia sells. Let's not play games here. Nostalgia does sell. It really does. People still, and a lot of younger generation kids now like some of the older stuff. It's cool to be kind of retro now. But I don't know. I really think this didn't need an updated. I would have been happier if they showed the original with an added crowd participation, even if they were actors.
You know what I feel like would have been really successful? It's just a documentary.
That would have been great too. And there is a book that obviously you can get. I mentioned it earlier. I completely just forgot the name, and I'm not going back to look for it.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to check that out, or maybe see if it's on audiobook. But yeah, I mean, a documentary on it would have been good. Seeing Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon, look, they're still around. They're not dead. I mean, we saw Susan Sarandon still looks like a.
Yeah.
I mean,
her titties are alive and well.
Let me be honest, she still looks fuckable. I mean, I'll fucking say.
So she's a gilf, as the young.
She is literally older than my grandmother.
Is she really?
Yes.
She what? What was that, Smart?
I said she is literally older than my grandmother, and I would do just horrific things to her that defy laws.
Yeah, you made
of,
that very clear.
physics and
My
nature.
God, she's 70.
Mhm.
Goldie
My grandpa's
Hawn
more like
is
66.
70. Goldie Hawn is 70.
That's another one that still looks. Oh my God,
Damn. I'm looking at Susan Sarandon. Yeah, she still does look, Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't, I wouldn't,
Oh God, think about it.
I wouldn't call her
Wow.
grandma. I wouldn't call her grandma. Put it that way. Anyway, where were we? Jesus Christ. Yeah. A documentary, even while showing the original, just having the cast of the original sit there and talk about it. Look, you still have got most of that cast around. Tim Curry, you still have got Susan Sarandon, Barry Bostwick, Meatloaf. Those are really the main cast. I don't know if the other two guys are still around, but the guys who made the film, Riff Raff and.
Yeah, Richard O'Brien is still very much alive.
Oh, okay. I mean, that probably would have been a better thing. I just, they have to remake, and again, they have to remake with the pretty people.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna make me sound like a nerd, but one of my favorite they don't do too much anymore, but one of my favorite features on like DVDs and Blu-rays was always like the commentary track from the directors, actors, because you get that's how learn like little factoids and tidbits about it because I've always been interested in how things came to be, like how like they got to that finished product.
Yeah, and if you get the 25th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, it used to be on Netflix. It might still be. There is some of that commentary on there of how they did this, how they did that, why they did this and why they did that. So there is a little bit of that. But yeah, I would have been happier with something like that. I don't think this needed to be a remake. I'm man, I'm not glad they remade it, but it was good to see. It was nice to watch, I guess. I'm with Smark. The original one is ingrained in me. I'm going to compare everything to that. Okay, this song didn't sound like Meatloaf sang it. This song didn't sound like this didn't sound like Barry Bostwick. But, even when you hear a song get remade, sometimes you think the same thing. Okay, this didn't sound like the original, but you got to remember it's not going to be the original. I think they did what they planned to do, which was a quick remake. Again, I'll say it one more time. The crowd should have been more involved, and I think that would have been a big, big difference. But it wasn't horrible. It wasn't great. It was, I guess the best word I could choose for it is watchable.
4 out of 10?
5 out of 10. Watchable. Watchable is what it was. I would probably watch it again if it was on, but again, it made me want to go back and watch the original more than it did make me want to record the new one.
Now let me ask you guys something, because you guys were talking about documentaries, and I'm a sucker for documentaries. I really am. Remember the old school? And I'm talking about. I'm going back to the '90s. Remember the old school E. True Hollywood stories?
Mm-hmm.
I missed that. I'm surprised. I don't think I got to look it up. I don't think they ever did one on Rocky Horror Picture, but I just wish they had did something similar to like an E. True Hollywood story, because this movie was tailor made for that. With like the eerie ass music they had, like that. Dun, 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 dun. This movie was tailor made for a documentary like that. I'm surprised they never did one on it.
Yeah, it would have been very cool to see a true Hollywood story or something like that on this, or behind the behind the show or something.
Speaking of which, real quick, it wasn't a behind the music, but VH1 actually did do a documentary about it.
Oh, cool!
Recently?
You know what?
Recently, it was like 2002, maybe.
I saw that when I was looking up some stuff. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I think it coincided with like the 30th anniversary or the 20th anniversary. I'm not exactly sure about the date.
I'll tell you real quick right now. Rocky Horror. It was 2000, the 25th anniversary special. They did a quick VH1 celebrates 25th anniversary with a karaoke Rocky Horror Picture Show. See, that's crowd involvement.
I saw that, and that was like way more in tune with the spirit of the original one than the remake was.
Well, you can still find it. Richard O'Brien's Rocky Horror Tribute Show. Obviously, Richard O'Brien was Riff Raff.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Patricia Quinn and Nell Campbell, who was Columbia in the original one. Patricia Quinn was Magenta, I believe.
And speaking of just like attractive people, if we can talk about that for just a minute.
Oh,
you
sure.
want to talk about underrated attractive people. Nell Campbell, oof, especially in the Columbia role. She was fucking hot.
She was. And again, I did mention that at the end there, you see her nipples throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of scenes. There's a scene where she, before she becomes set in stone, she's arguing with Frankenfurter, and she like does a thing where she adjusts her pajamas, and you can see it through the hole.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
couple of shots of that.
There are.
She was kind of Harley Quinn before Harley Quinn was even a person. Or a character.
Yeah, you got a point there. And she didn't do a lot of movies after Rocky Horror, but she did a couple. She was in The Killing Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in not much. She was in Pink Floyd The Wall for a quick moment, but not even credited. So she didn't do much, but yeah, she was very beautiful in that role, man. The girl who played her in this one was, again, very beautiful, but a little too hot. But man, I wish we could have seen her nipples.
Wow.
I would have liked to see the nipples on her.
Also, while we're talking about the movie real quick, there was a couple of things I wanted to hit on. One of which being, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but during the movie, it was noted that Frankenfurter created Eddie as well. Because he made a remark about how was it a mistake that he used the same brain. He divided the brain between Eddie and Rocky.
Right, which is in the original also.
And to speaking of the movie, it was after the fact, Richard O'Brien had said that it was intended that Riff Raff was actually the person who did the majority of the creation of Rocky. Because there's a line in the movie where he says that all the corrections are in order. He's just waiting for Frankenfurter's word.
Right.
So Riff Raff was also a switch hitter, as you mentioned.
The old switch hitter. The old ambiguous, ambidextrous hitter. Yeah, I don't know, but obviously to me, the original will have a special place. Like I said, me and my friends used to get together and watch this every Halloween.
I still do.
My friend Eliza actually said she had a picture of all of us one night watching this movie in drag. Yes, there was one night where I dressed as a girl. Me and my friend actually went everywhere. Went to the store, the bar, everywhere. Dressed as women. We had fun.
And not to get too serious, but like that's kind of one of the movies that helps kind of build the connection or build a relationship between transvestites and metrosexuals with the heterosexual world. Yeah. Because like growing up, like when I was in high school, I will say I was kind of, because everyone else around me was kind of homophobic. That was kind of the thing, because nobody wanted to admit there was a lot of closeted people. And where I lived in the South, homophobia was very popular. Everybody had to be a tough, manly man.
Yeah, we don't like them things.
Queering don't make the world work.
And I remember being kind of a homophobic asshole at the time, and I was sitting there thinking about it, and it's like, your favorite movie involves a transvestite blowing a dude. Like, can you really be homophobic?
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, they get fucking drunk and show each other their cocks, and, Anyway. Hey,
there's
Billy
a lot
Bob,
of closeted
I didn't mean to suck that last night. I don't know how to quit you. I've never seen that movie, by the way. Really, never. But I think you're right. It does actually give it's kind of a little break in the gap between the worlds. But yeah, I mean it's one of those movies that if you're a fan of it, you're probably a very open-minded person.
Yeah.
Really.
There's a lot of movies who, like nowadays especially, they try to market themselves towards a specific demographic, a certain niche group, but it's definitely very calculated. Whereas, like, I think back in the day, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like it was outcast by outcasts.
Well,
like it was genuine, and
right.
you don't really see that nowadays.
And it
like
was...
you guys had mentioned. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off real quick. You guys had mentioned if it would be successful nowadays, and I think if it was made nowadays, it would be just kind of like The Room or Sharknado, where it's like it's a shitty movie or it's kind of lame or whatever, but it's supposed to be. Like it's self-aware.
Mm.
Like it's bad for the sake of being bad.
Good.
Whereas I think nowadays, like back in the day, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like it was tongue in cheek, but it was also kind of sincere.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like the people who liked it, they liked it for a sincere reason. They didn't like it because it was so bad that it was good. They liked it because it was like unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was like a movie created for outcasts. Like it spoke to them.
Yeah, and Sharknado is a good comparison, but it not only was it created for outcasts, but it was created for, I mean, think about the niche audience that they were going for. Sci-fi geeks and horror geeks, which are really the same kind of, they're all related to the same genre. I mean, Comic-Cons, horror conventions, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and sci-fi conventions and horror conventions, same thing. So they were going for that niche audience. And, at the time, that was not a big audience. 1975, science fiction, parents were trying to keep their kids away from that shit, man. They look, 1975, people were just trying to keep their kids away from rock and roll.
Yeah, like if you think about it, like it's a very unique example because like Brad and Janet are supposed to be the all-American couple. And they're like they're the tradition, they're the niche, they're not niche, but they're the standard. And like that, it was one of the rare movies back then when the people like the outcasts were in control and the standard people were the people that were minoritized and they weren't the people who had power.
Yeah, definitely. But it was just for that. Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, I was born in 1975, so I can't exactly speak for the times, but you just have to realize those were completely different times.
Mm-hmm.
People, I mean, Elvis music. Yeah, that was still devil music at that time in 1975. Alice Cooper was devil music. Parents didn't want their kids listening to that shit.
Okay. To put it in perspective, it seems for some reason I'm getting a sense that we probably need to do an All in the Family episode as much as it comes up. But
sure.
Speaking to your point, a little factoid, and please don't ask me how I know this stuff. I just know because I research and I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. But did you know, like when All in the Family originally debuted on CBS, who else was on CBS at the time that had kind of made her niche and made her name?
Carol Burnett.
No, close.
Lucille Ball.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
She hated that show.
Mm.
She hated it, and she did everything. She tried to kind of get it shut down, because think about where it was coming from. She was coming from all for 20 years of cookie cutter. I mean, think about it. You never saw an episode of I Love Lucy, anything she was ever part of. You never saw an episode that dealt with race or any type of real shit.
Yeah.
So when All in the Family first came on the scene, think about it. In the early episodes, when it first debuted, they had like a little disclaimer. All in the Family contains sensitive language that may offend certain members of the family, and it's not appropriate for all members of the family. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yep.
That type of thing. That was new.
Yeah, because I mean,
so
back
the
in those
70s
days,
kind of like the 70s really kind of like broke down a lot of walls and a lot of barriers that people weren't ready for.
Yeah, like back in those days, like people didn't, like you're saying, people didn't address real issues. Like it was kind of we're going to pretend that everything's okay. We're going to pretend that everything's going all right. We're the all-American family. The wife and the husband are great. They're having a great relationship, and the kids are fine. Like that was the type of America that the marketing companies, the sponsors wanted to present, but that wasn't the reality. So once you got to like the 90s, the reality started coming out when you had shows like Married with Children and like Roseanne and shit.
I mean, how bizarre is it now to think that, you look at reruns of I Love Lucy or fucking Brady Bunch, and the husband and wife, they're sleeping in separate beds like they don't fuck. Like how bizarre is that? Like, How fucking weird is that to see now in
Yeah.
2016? Oh, they got 6 kids in the house, but nobody fucking.
Which
Fuck
I
that
mean
shit.
that all goes to show, like, you know, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was in '75,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like scenes of fellatio being performed. You know, like that was such a divide. That was such a counterculture moment when America was supposed to be presented as more traditional.
Yeah.
Like we only have sex for procreation and shit like that.
All right, here's you know what? Why don't we do this real quick? Real quick, I've got 14 little known facts about Rocky Horror, and then I guess we'll get out of here. Rocky Horror began as a way to keep a few unemployed actors busy. Basically, Richard O'Brien and Jim Sharman used just kind of set this film up and took their love of science fiction and horror and took a few actors that they knew were out of work and needed help. So that's how the film that started. Richard O'Brien, Riff Raff, originally wanted to play Eddie, and Jim Sharman talked him out of it. Columbia and Magenta were originally one character. As the stage play began casting, Sharman was hoping his friend, pop star Marianne Faithfull, would play Frankenfurter's female counterpart, but Little Nell, and by the way, she is in the film, she's known as Little Nell. That's even how she's credited. Had already been cast in the production, so Sharman and O'Brien reworked the role into 2 parts, Magenta and Columbia. When the time came to cast Magenta, Faithfull was already off on tour, so Patricia Quinn was cast. Little Nell was cast for her tap dancing skills alone. Frankenfurter originally had a German accent, but Tim Curry couldn't pull it off. So they just said, fuck it, and you should sound like the Queen anyway. So they kept his original English accent and just told him to sound a little more like the Queen. The original song for the film, that was the Lips science fiction double feature, originally had a different singer, but was suddenly done. Wait a minute, let's see. As previously mentioned, Patricia Quinn took the part as Magenta, so she could sing the double science fiction double feature on stage, but when it came time, it was decided that O'Brien, who was Riff Raff, to sing the song. She wasn't happy, but at least she got consolation for her lips being in the song. So the lips you see are actually Patricia Quinn's lips, who is Magenta. The director agreed to a small budget in order to keep his original cast that he picked. So, they were obviously offering him a larger budget to get some better people in the roles, but he took the smaller budget in order to keep Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon. Let's see. Much of the film's look was inspired by an actual rotting mansion. We don't need to go much more into that. Large portion of the film was actually supposed to be in black and white. Really? While conceiving of the film's overall look, Sharman, Thompson, and the company originally decided the film's opening act should be shot entirely black and white, and the first color shot would be Frankenfurter's red lips when he appeared on the elevator. The idea that Brad and Janet were living in a bland world, and when they met Frankenfurter, it became more colorful. Actually, it would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the studio completely rejected the idea. The reveal of Eddie's body genuinely shocked the cast. No one knew it was going to be done. So that was an actual surprise for the cast. A cardboard model was used at the end to make the house fly. That's not surprising. The film's famous audience participation was inspired in part by boredom. The Rocky Horror Picture Show was a flop when originally released in 1975, but as midnight showings continued, it developed a rabid cult following and a penchant. That's what it says. Penchant for the shouting at the screen as the film played. Brian Thompson first witnessed this phenomenon at New York's Waverly Theater in 1977 and asked what was going on. And a reply from a fan was, "We thought it was pretty boring and thought if we yelled back, it would be more fun." Tim Curry was once kicked out of a screening for being an imposter. That was in New York. They actually threw him out, didn't think he was the real Frankenfurter, so he was thrown out. They obviously got him back to the theater, and the staff apologized. And little known fact number 14, Prince Diana was a huge fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Meatloaf and Tim Curry actually had met Prince Diana. So there you go. She was actually a fan of the movie.
Wow, wow. Obviously, none of us have never met her, but how much of a trip is that?
Yeah.
Princess Di is a fucking Rocky Horror Picture. That tells me she would have been a fun girl to hang out with.
I mean, I think the exact line was like she thanked him for completing her experience, quote unquote.
Ooh, wonder what the experience was. Huh. Had a girl die.
To steal a Trumpism, you think he might have grabbed her by the... Oh! Time to go.
Ow. All right.
Hey, yeah, something. Hey,
so
Donald Trump, the cultural icon night right now.
Yeah, I don't know. So on that night, and on that note, what do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think we kind of covered all the bases.
Smart.
Rocky
you got
Horror.
Any more to complain, bitch, anything?
No, I'm not going to complain or bitch. I think, like, mainly the positive I'm going to leave things on is, like, it's really impressive how it has kind of infiltrated the zeitgeist. Like, there is, like you had mentioned, it was on the Drew Carey show. I saw it on The Simpsons, The Boondocks, like, a wide variety of shows. It's on, like, they have done remakes or spoofs or homages to it. It's still popular, like, it's still produced. There's still plays in high schools and colleges. Like, it has... Definitely, it's like it is the ultimate movie for the underdog or for the niche crowd, and it's just really impressive how it has managed to kind of take that place. Like it was kind of almost, if you think about it, it was almost kind of the original viral movie, because there was a lot of people who saw it and they were like, "You need to see this. It's so weird, it's so strange, what have you."
Yeah,
it's amazing how it has taken its place in pop culture as something that was originally just panned by critics, but it found its audience
pre-internet. And by word of mouth. And this movie is probably we were talking, me and Anthony were talking earlier about movies that just this movie is timeless. This is one of the another definition of timeless. Not only a cult classic, but a timeless movie. It's 41 years later, and they're remaking this movie, and they did remake this movie into and people are still doing this movie today on stage, on live. So I think when you say cult classic, it defines cult classic, and I think this movie also defines the word timeless. This is a timeless movie. You are never going to get sick of a movie like this. I think 40 more years down the road, this movie will still be what it is. I really do. I don't think this movie has a time to die. I don't think this movie's going to go away. I don't think it will. So
I agree with you. I mean, 40 years from now or 80 years from now, however long it is,
Mhm.
long after we're going box, it'll be somebody else doing a fucking podcast about Rocky Horror Picture Show way back when, 100 years ago. It was a great fucking movie.
Yeah, and I hope they do. I hope this movie lives on, and keep doing what you're doing with it. Make it the cult classic that it is. But like I said, this will be a timeless classic that lives on, and I hope it does. I really hope this is the kind of movie that never ends. So, I don't know, man. Anything else?
In the immortal words of the great Terry Funk, this movie will live forever. Forever. I just had to get that in. That's one of my favorite quotes ever.
All right. Then I guess, as usual, I will go ahead and do quick plugs. THT movie review. Sorry we were out for a couple of weeks, guys. I got sick one week and I was out of town last week. I had fun though, so that was a good thing. But check us out on iTunes, THT Movie Review, Facebook.com/ guess what? THT Movie Review, YouTube, Twitter, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, all THT Movie Review. And, of course, don't forget to check out me and Shaheen every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here, Mixer.com/THT Podcast. You can find us on The Wrestling Show on Wrestling Soup, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, same thing as us. Type in THT right now, you're getting both shows. Anthony, anything else you got to say?
Tune in every Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern. THT Movie Review. And in the coming days, we'll let you know what we're doing next week, but we will be back next week, as always, 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
There you go.
Sure.
Join the Facebook, and we'll make sure we tell you guys every movie we're doing every week. We will see you guys 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time next Friday. That's it, y'all.
Don't dream it, be it.
Don't dream it.
Sorrow.
Be
it.
Watch this fucking movie, please. Rocky Horror Picture. If you haven't gotten a hint yet, movie. It's Halloween.
Go
weekend.
see it live. For the love of God, go see it live. If you don't want to dress up, don't dress up. But go see it live. You are deprived. If you haven't already, you are depriving yourself of an experience unlike anything else you have ever seen. I have seen it twice. I will see it again next year. I will see it as many times as possible. It is a great experience. It's a lot of fun. Go see it.
Go. I've seen it a few times live myself. It is an experience. Go see it. And on that note, I'm going home.
I'm going